everyone, this is Leo from the Monkeys Making Misplays channel. Today we're going to be profiling one of the new ride lines from the triple drive booster set. We were able to get our hands on these, thank God, before I think a lot of the price spikes came up. I know, I think I bought my Leuhan split for like 80, and I think Kat bought his Zedhlans split for like 40. And I think both of the decks have now gotten way more expensive than that. Or not way more expensive, I think Zedhlans is maybe like $10 more than what it would be, and I think Leuhan is like maybe like 20-30 bucks more. But we are gonna do them. They were the only two new ride lines from the triple drive booster, but the triple drive booster also gave us access to a bunch of cards we needed to build some of the decks that were a little bit out of our price range before. I mean, we're not rolling in money, but this is Leuhan. This is my build of it. Not anything too crazy here. For grade 3s, we're playing the obligatory 3 extra copies of Leuhan for that Persona ride. And then obviously we're playing the full set of Leuhan Maris, which is the superior ride that Leuhan provides you. I wonder if they're going to give us more different Leuhan Maris in the future, because if you notice on the regular Leuhan, he doesn't specify specifically like, you know, the full name, Soul Awakening Dragon Horse Leuhan Maris. He only references a card with Leuhan, with Leuhan Maris. So technically they could give us new forms of this, similar to how they did with Youthberg, and that would be a very interesting way to go about supporting this this deck. I think that'd be cool. Give us like new forms, maybe like a full Centaur version where they like actually combine. Because if you look on here, that you can just see Leuhan there on the what is it, like the shoulder of the Leuhan Mars thing. So that'd be definitely interesting. I mean, if you need an explanation on these effects, Leuhan can Soul Blast 1 to search for the grade 2 Mars, which we'll show in a little bit, and call it to rear. And then at the end of battle attacks, you can counter blast 1, put a grade 2 rear guard with Mars in its card name into Soul, which is what you call out. Then you search your deck or hand for up to 1 grade 3 graded card with Leuhan Mars. Write it as stand until end of turn. Put the cards revealed for the drive checks of the battle that unit attacked on the bottom of the deck instead of the hand. And then if you search your deck, you shuffle your deck. And then Leuhan Maris is during your turn if your soul has a Soul Awakening Guard Leuhan, which is, you know, your original ride line target. It gets plus 10, so it'll be 23k. And then at the end of the turn, you choose a Soul Awakening Guard Leuhan from your soul, and you write it as rest. So, you know, it's a very small, technically, engine that this is, right? Because you just need these two cards and then the Mars, which let's just move on to the grade 2 so we can talk about it a bit more. Only a couple grade 2s. Let me talk about the Mars first. So here we go. Guard running through the Earth Mars. It's got 2 abilities. The first has when it attacks, if you have a grade 3 Greater Vanguard Leuhan in its card name, it gets plus 5 until end of that battle, so it's a 15k, so it can hit grade 3s without needing any sort of booster. And then when it's put into Soul from rear by the ability of your Vanguard with Leuhan in its card name, if you Persona at this turn, choose one of your Vanguards and it gets drive plus 1. So obviously you're not going to get that ability right away, but once you Persona ride, you'll be able to give your Leuhan Mars triple drive, which means that sure, you don't get access to any of those cards, right, because they're just going to go on the bottom, but you still get the power. If you're playing fronts, you still get the effect. But my build is playing draws, so you still get to draw off of the trigger, so you still get some card advantage. But I mean, staple 4 of, because you need to be able to pull it out whenever you need from the deck, and you kind of want to always be able to get something from the deck without having to do anything else. Then we play 4 copies of Tithfold. This card got surprisingly expensive. We already had our set since we bought a case of set 11, so we already had our full set of these. When it's placed on rear, other than by unit's card's ability, if you played a normal order this turn, you can Soul Boss 1, check out 5, call 1 with grade less than or equal to Van, and then if you find a normal order, you can put the normal order instead of calling the unit. Then you shuffle the deck. And then when it attacks a grade 3 greater unit, if you have 4 or more units, it gets plus 10. So 20k attacker, you'll usually have a full board just because of how the deck is able to just, you know, spam units out there. So it's a pretty good, and we'll talk about the order that we play for the deck. But last grade 2, we have Nanoful. So this is another way to get card advantage off of the drive checks from Leuhan Mars. So it says whenever your drive check reveals a trigger unit, you put a card from your hand into your soul, you draw a card. Technically, you won't be plussing, but you do get to put some, you know, maybe some grade 3s. You don't really want the Leuhan Maris in hand because you want to be writing it from the deck, and there is ways to put the Leuhan Maris back into the deck from the drop, so that'll be perfect. and it just lets you maybe turn maybe a draw trigger or a bulked up. Maybe you have too many tithe falls in your hand, so you just want to get rid of some. So this is perfect. It can just sit on your board. It can sit on like the back row rear. Be perfect. Then we have the order for the deck, which is Soul Rinsing Spring of Dragons. It's a grade 1 order that says play this with Counterblast 1 if you have Vanguard with Leuhan in its card name. You choose up to 2 normal units from your drop, choose a card with grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from among them, call to rear, and then put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order, and then the called unit gets +5. So this is how you filter back. This is one of the ways you filter back your Maris and your Leuhan Maris, by just using this to target, the grade 2, and then you can target a Tithe Fall, which will let its ability triggered because it's only it is only not able to use the ability if it's called by a unit card's ability, but since this is an order, you're able to just bring it back and then get another unit for a Soul Blast, which is pretty good. And then we have another grade 1, which is the last card that was part of the deck, which is Benediction Sage. So if she's boosting a Leuhan or a Maris, it gets +5, so it's a 13k booster. And then when it boosts your Vanguard, you choose up to 1 normal unit with Leuhan or Maris in its card name from your drop, you put them on the bottom of the deck. Another way to recycle your Maris and your Leuhans, Leuhan Maris, so perfect. And then if you chose a card, you can Counterblast 1 to draw a card. Obviously, the deck does eat quite a bit of CB, so you won't always be able to get to draw. Sometimes you're just going to bottom a card, so that's pretty good. And then we have 3 copies of Enucleate Angel, simply because we do need some countercharging. And at certain points, your souls is going to get so full that it's not going to matter. So you can just, use this to countercharge, as well as it triggering when you ride your Leuhan Mars means you can make it 5k bigger. So if you give it 1 boost, it'll be 28k, which is pretty good. So they can't just use a 15k guard. They have to use at least a effect front, right? So that's pretty good. And then the last standard is 2 Toll Pass. You do Soul Blast your red line pretty quickly, so this is perfect. You get to just look at some extra cards, get an extra unit, or you can just get some extra shield, which is pretty good. These cards are so good. If you can get yourself a set of these, or at least 2. 2 is like the optimal number you'll play with any deck. Pretty much any nation, you'll only ever really run 2, unless you really want the effect. But most decks will just run the 2. So I would highly recommend these. And then the final for the normal units are the PGs. I mean, nothing to say here. You have to play perfect guards, and if you have the Blitz order, play the Blitz order. If you don't, you're fine. Then for triggers, I'm playing Red OT, simply because you'll always have a standing unit, because usually your attack patterns are swing with Thamaris, swing with Leuhan, and then suck in the other rearguard, and then you swing with your Leuhan Maris again. So you'll be able to put them on the remaining rearguard, which means they can restand, so being able to just have that multi-attack is pretty good. You could play something like Blue OT. I actually have it right here. You could play Blue OT, but you don't really need to get cards back from drop. You pretty much cycle a lot of the stuff you want back into the deck. And then I'm playing 4 draws because these are the ones that we can get a card off of with Leuhan Mars, so I wanted to play a full set. And then we are playing a total of 7 crits. The effect crits can come up in this deck because sometimes you could use your soul a little bit too early and you want to make some extra plays, so you do have to commit to the effect crits. Not completely necessary, of course, but they do give you some breathing room, I guess you could call it. And then for last, we've got the 4 heals, because obviously adjust these as you see fit. We do have quite a few strike deck sets, so if you see yourself playing against a lot of those at your locals, obviously add those type of heals. And if you're seeing a lot of multi-attack, or if you're seeing a lot of double crit vanguards, you can switch to those. But that concludes the list. I genuinely think this deck is pretty good. I don't think it's like game breaking good, but it is very consistent. It does what it wants pretty easily. It doesn't need to it doesn't need many hoops. Everything you need is on the Leuhan itself. It finds you the Mars you need. It has the effect. It searches for the Leuhan Mars from deck or hand. So unlike Uplurk, you don't have to have your target to superior ride in your hand. You can just have it on board, so it's pretty good. I think once we get that new Keter promo, the one that was choice restricted with Lord in Japan, this deck gets even better. But for right now, I think it's just in I said like a solid, maybe like a solid A tier deck. It's not up there with like Shiranui, right, and like all the high tier competitors, but it's definitely in the lower tiers of like A, I'd say, right? I think it's either low A or high B, because it is a very good deck. It's very consistent. It doesn't need much to do its thing. At worst, your Vanguard is able to do 3 attacks just by itself without needing any other cards, so that's pretty good. But that'll be all for this video. Kat will be profiling Zedhlans on Wednesday, so look forward to that. But with that, this has been Leo. I'll see you all on Prey.